Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Unscripted Ramblings. I'm Kendall Richardson. Thank you so much for joining me as we wrap up the epic Arrowverse crossover Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's done, it's over. The event that they've been building towards for the past, 8 years I suppose, since Arrow started, has now been completed, paid off, done, it's over, and oh my god, I have so many emotions and things to say about it, so I'm really excited to dive right in to this epic kind of review and my rambling reactions and thoughts on the last two parts. So 4 and 5 both aired on the same night. That was the latest episode of Arrow and the brand new episode of Legends of Tomorrow as part of the crossover. So I'm just going to do them both in the one video just because it flows a lot better and it makes sense, and yeah, it's all good. I'm gonna do that. So starting with part 4. Okay, so things are pretty bleak and it's an episode of Arrow, so things are going to naturally be darker. And we see, for the start we get some backstory on the Monitor, which I really liked. I thought that was really interesting, although they didn't really go too deep into why he and his wife/partner are wanting to travel back to the dawn of time, unless I missed it and went over my head. I don't know, but I don't think they actually said. So they're conducting an experiment of time travel, and he goes back to when the universe/multiverse was being created, and he somehow ends up corrupting it, and antimatter just spawns everywhere, and then the Anti-Monitor is created, and they face each other in this, I don't know if it's on Maltus or if it's just I think it's maybe it's the antimatter universe. I think maybe it's the anti-universe. That's where they are at the dawn of time. So for starters, I mean, when everything's happening on Maltus with the Monitor at first, it's 10,000 years ago, and then he's going back all the way back to the beginning of it all, and that's where everything kind of went haywire. So that's interesting. And then we get our heroes stranded on the Vanishing Point. We find out that they've been there for months. I mean, it's only been a month for us between parts 3 and 4, but apparently for them it's been a lot longer, which is kind of harrowing to see that they've been just stuck there trying to figure out how to get out. Barry's been missing because, as we learn, he was trying to get into the Speed Force so he could figure out a way to get out of the Vanishing Point and use the Speed Force somehow. And it's just really kind of they've lost everyone and they don't know how to bring them back, and so it's very emotional to start with. Then we get Oliver being counselled, I suppose, by Jim Corrigan, the former Spectre, in Purgatory, and he's basically, I guess, telling Oliver what he needs to do and what his purpose is and all of that. And then he rocks up at the Vanishing Point and touches Barry on the forehead and gives him this ability to access the Speed Force because he couldn't get into it, and because he reveals that the Speed Force is the key to escaping the Vanishing Point and saving the multiverse, which is really cool. And Oliver as the Spectre is such a great thing in this entire episode. It's awesome. The things they do with Oliver Queen and wrapping up his story is just beyond. I love it, but I'll get to that in a second. So basically our heroes then find themselves all in the Speed Force. However, Kara, Ryan and Lex Luthor end up 10,000 years ago in Planet Maltus so they can prevent the Monitor from doing what he's about to do and kind of ruining everything. But then the rest of them get trapped in the Speed Force because they get attacked by the Anti-Monitor in the Speed Force. So we see, it's so interesting what they do with the Speed Force. They change the way it looks. It's very cinematic, the way it's shot, and I kind of like the fact that they differentiate between what's reality and what's not reality, I suppose. But yeah, all the other paragons that are in the Speed Force, Barry needs to figure out how to find them all, and Oliver tells him within the Speed Force that they're all scattered through different memories of the Arrowverse past, basically. So yeah, Kate Kane ends up at Palmer Tech during a scene with Ray Palmer and Oliver Queen from season 2. They're talking about Felicity. That was a nice little throwback. And they're talking about Oliver, and you know, his identity is the Hood or the Arrow at that point. What else? There's an invasion throwback where we see John Jones rock up, where Oliver and Kara are bickering because it's the first crossover with Supergirl, and I don't think they got along to start with, so that was really, really interesting. There's an Elseworlds throwback to the last year's crossover. Barry finds himself in a scene where he's watching Oliver, you know, shoot the Book of Destiny that the Elseworlds Superman has. I think he was, from memory, I think he was the bad guy pretending to be Superman. It's been a while since I've watched that. But yeah, we see that scene unfold and then Barry's there and it's... But I've skipped over probably the most important thing. After he finds out that he needs to go looking for the... actually, I shouldn't, before I get to that... God, I'm sorry, I'm just very scatterbrained at the moment. I should also just mention quickly that Sara Lance is in her own dead body, in a memory where just after Sarah's been killed, and we get a lovely scene, a reenacting of the scene between Diggle and Laurel as they're grieving over the loss of Sarah, and then Barry rocks up and then wakes her up and then takes her away. But yes, of course, must go back. Because after Barry finds out what he needs to do to get everyone out of the Speed Force and to, you know, Maltus and to the Dawn of Time, is, for some reason, it's so, I don't know, I'm really confused by it all, but I love it. It's great. It's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I'm so happy about it. Barry rocks up at Star Labs, and then out of the blue, Ezra Miller's Flash just appears. And the two of them are having a conversation and admiring each other's costumes, and Ezra's Barry is just like, is that cosplay? Do you want a selfie? Like, it's so wonderful, and he doesn't even realize that he's called the Flash, like, because our Barry, Grant Gustin's Barry, is like, you're the Flash, and we're the Flash. He's like, what? Like, Ezra had no idea. Yeah, it's so good, and it's just, I never expected it. Out of all of the cameos and all of the appearances and connections to every other kind of DC property that we've gotten over this crossover, I never for a second even believed we would get some kind of reference to the DCEU, to the films. And the fact that they made it happen, the fact that they got Ezra Miller to do this scene all suited up as the Flash is just, yeah, I practically squealed, jumped out of my seat when he came on screen. I was like, yes, this is so good. That's gotta be, I mean, there's so many great moments in this entire crossover. We've been truly blessed, truly spoilt as comic book fans in this crossover, but yeah, that's gotta be one of the top moments, that's for sure. Oh, holy cow. So yeah, that was so random. And then he says, I told Victor this was possible. And I think the right theory about who Victor is it's Vic Stone, who is Cyborg. So hopefully Cyborg pops up in the Flash movie that's coming out soon. And maybe there'll be a connection. Maybe this scene will be in the Flash movie or something. Like, maybe they're... I don't know, does this mean going forward we're going to get Arrowverse and DCEU referencing each other? And yeah, there's so many possibilities, and it's just super exciting. So I was thrilled, beyond thrilled. Yeah, so while everyone's in the Speed Force, Kara, Ryan, and Lex are on Maltus trying to stop the Monitor, as I said earlier. Lex, of course, betrays them because he's Lex Luthor, and he not only gave himself, not only wrote himself in the Book of Destiny as the Paragon of Truth, destroying Brandon Routh's Superman, which made me very sad, but yeah, he actually wrote himself in some powers, so he uses those to take down Supergirl and Ryan, and so he can try and get to the Monitor first and use this position to his advantage, so he can help remake the multiverse in the way he wants it to be made. So but that's really, really good. I really, really like everything to do with Lex Luthor in this crossover, and where he ends up, just makes me think, okay, I think they're going to keep him around, and I really, really hope they keep him around, because John Cryer as Lex Luthor has been one of the best things to come to the Arrowverse in recent memory. Like, there's so many great actors and so many great performances and characters, but his addition is just superb, absolutely superb through and through, and I really hope we get to see more of him. It would be so good. There's a really funny line, speaking of Lex, where he's trying to convince the Monitor to, do what he wants him to do, and he says they're going to team up, and he calls themselves the Brave and the Bold, not the Brave and the Bold, and I thought that was a little cheeky, a little funny joke there. But yes, so once everyone gets out of the Speed Force and catches up with, or stops Lex from, being Lex, they all end up back at the dawn of time. And even though they prevented the Monitor from traveling back, because, this is a multiverse, even though they've time traveled, so the multiverse exists. There's always going to be a Monitor. Like, there's another Monitor that will, create the anti-Monitor, so it's kind of inevitable. So the anti-Monitor is there in this antimatter universe, anti-universe, and all our heroes are there, and Oliver appears as the Spectre and tells the Paragons that he's going to be the spark that lights the fire that will create the new multiverse, rebirth it. He's going to rebirth the multiverse. But, they need to destroy the anti-Monitor so they can do that. And the Paragons will fan the flame to help Oliver, or Spolliver, as I call him now, because he's Spectre. Spolliver is going to, do that, and they're all going to work together, and the Paragons are going to fight shadow demons, and we see all that. We get some really great fight scenes. The special effects are not too shabby for this, for all these fight scenes we get in this crossover. They've spared no expense, and it just looks great. It's engaging, it's fun, it's intense, it's so very well done. The stakes are real and high, and like, the multiverse literally depends on everything they do. So the Paragons, of course, in this lovely little moment, after they've kind of defeated all the shadow demons, they're watching Oliver and fighting against the anti-Monitor, and trying to use his power to create this to rebirth the multiverse. The new multiverse. He actually says to him, "You have failed this universe," and I was just like, "Oh, this is fantastic." But Kara gets a nice little speech where she's kind of rallying the Paragons because they don't know how they're supposed to be fanning the flame. Oliver basically says that they'll figure it out when the time comes, and then they do, and she basically tells every Paragon to focus on what they represent, whether it's love, truth, courage, etc. Focus on that, and that will help Oliver. And so it's a really nice scene. And then, of course, Oliver, it's so sad. Spolliver defeats the Anti-Monitor, and he dies. And I cried so much. But it was a really moving death, I feel, because, yes, we saw Oliver die at the end of episode 1, but if you watched my video about episode 1, part 1 of the crossover, you'd know that I was just not fully convinced. I'm like, it's episode 1, it's the epic crossover that we've all been waiting for. There is no way Oliver Queen is not going to be in every episode. There's no freaking way. So I didn't, as emotional as the scene was, seeing everyone get very upset, understandably, over losing Oliver, I didn't fully go there. But with this scene, I really went there, because I'm like, holy crap, if they're killing him now, he's actually gonna be dead. Like, you don't kill someone twice in a crossover and have them come back miraculously. He's dead now. It's over. Which makes me wonder, with Arrow having 2 episodes officially left to go, how are they going to actually finish the show's story? Oliver's story is basically over. But it was a beautiful scene. The 2 people who basically, I mean, outside of Felicity and Diggle, that mean the most to him are there when he dies, and that's Sara Lance, who has been with us since the Queen's Gambit, which is the thing that started this entire thing. The event, the Queen's Gambit sinking and them ending up on Lian Yu, that started this entire journey, and so it was so fitting for her to be there. You know, she even says in part 5, when she's having this wonderful conversation with Grant Gustin's Barry Allen, which was a really, really nice scene, and she just says Oliver was the only thing left of, you know, who I was before all of this. He was my only tether to that version of me. You know, that's, you know, so I really loved that. And so for her to be there when he died, I think was perfect, as well as Barry Allen being there when he died, because, you know, The Flash was the first, you know, spin-off. It was the first show to be spun off out of Arrow, because, you know, we see Barry Allen getting introduced in Arrow in season 2, I think it was. Yeah, 1 or 2. And, no, I think it was 2. Yeah, season 2. Anyway, we see him getting introduced, and then, you know, he gets his own spin-off, he gets his own show, and it's become one of the greatest shows on TV. Seriously, The Flash is so great. And it's all because of Oliver Queen. It's all because of the Arrow, like, the Arrowverse, but yeah, Arrow starting this entire thing. Basically, Oliver Queen, if you want to compare the 2, he's basically the Tony Stark of this whole thing, because, you know, it started with, you know, the MCU started with Iron Man, started with Tony Stark, and here, you know, here we have Oliver Queen. You know, he started this whole thing, Arrow started this whole thing, and both characters die in this big epic crossover event that's been built up for years and years and years. You know, paying off all of these stories and build-ups, just, yeah, it was beautifully done. It was absolutely beautifully done, and I cried quite a bit. So it's, yeah, very, very fitting. But I really loved seeing Spolliver as the Spectre. It was really, really cool, and a really fitting way for him to go out. So, but seeing Diggle get so upset in part 5, that was because he just has this line. David Ramsey is so good as John Diggle. He just has this line where he says, I think I'm paraphrasing, but he was just like, Oliver died twice, and I wasn't there both times. I failed him both times. Like, that's just, he's so hard on himself about it. It wasn't none of it was his fault. There's nothing he could do about it. He couldn't have possibly have been there, because he didn't technically exist at all. So, you know, that's just how Dig is, because they're brothers, basically, they're family. So, you know, he's just like, I should have been there. But to see them all get so emotional also just, you know, kept me very emotional. It was so hard to watch everybody get so upset. And it's funny because this is part 5 now, so all of these tears are coming in part 5. Oh my god, but really, really cool stuff. I think part 5 was such a great way to end this crossover. You know, I didn't expect we were going to get the big final battle, or at least I thought it was the big final battle, in part 4, you know, where everything's kind of, you know, they win, essentially, at the end of part 4. I'm like, okay, well, where are we going from, you know, how do we go from here? What happens next? And then we find out that all of the multiverses have, well, not all of them, but all of the Arrowverse ones have merged together. So Supergirl National City is now on the same Earth as Star City and as Central City. They're all on the same Earth now, as well as Freeland, Black Lightning City, is also in the same. So that's freaking amazing. One of the best things to come out of this crossover, especially going forward as we stand for this Arrowverse, which is going to be continuing now sans Arrow. That was just such a really good way to bring everyone together, make it very, I don't know, convenient and maybe easier to do these crossovers going forward, because there's definitely going to be more of them every single year. I don't know how they're going to top this year's one, because this has been the most epic of epic crossovers, that is for sure. So, but it's really interesting what they do, because they bring in the trope of, like, you know, only the hero knows what's really going on and everybody else has no idea that things are different, and this isn't how things are, because Supergirl sees Lex Luthor getting the Nobel Prize, and apparently he's this great and good and grand person. He's a hero, essentially, so that there's Lex getting what he wanted. You know, in season 4 of Supergirl, we, you know, get a taste of Lex Luthor just trying to be the hero, and they did such a great portrayal of him. Like I mentioned Lex earlier, but in season 4 it was just excellent, and so now I think that might be continuing. But that's the last we see of Lex in the crossover. He's getting the Nobel Peace Prize, and Kara's just like, excuse me, what's going on? Yeah, so that's interesting. So literally only the Paragons know. And then John Jones, because he's Martian Manhunter, he has the ability to give people memories, you know, reveal the truth of what actually happened. So he goes around restoring other heroes' memories, so everybody's up to speed on exactly what's going on and all of this. So that was really cool. What else? Yeah, Nash Wells comes into this episode, and yeah, he ends up, you know, helping, you know, trying to make up for the mistakes that he made, even because, like, everyone's just destroyed over the fact that literally everyone's back except Oliver. And so getting to see Tom Cavanagh be Nash Wells in this, trying to, you know, like, feeling, you can tell as soon as he finds out what he's responsible for as Pariah, unleashing the Anti-Monitor, that, yeah, he just really kind of wants to do what he can to help, and I really kind of liked what they did with him. It was really good. Now, another great thing about this episode is the fact of part 5 is the fact it's an episode of Legends of Tomorrow, and one of the cool things about the crossovers that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't work is the fact that they do like to go out of their way to kind of make you know, let you know that each part this is an episode of Arrow, this is an episode of Legends, this is an episode of Supergirl. Like, everything still caters around the central themes of what show it's representing for that part, basically. And sometimes they're good at it and sometimes they're not good at it. However, this is probably one of the best examples of them being great at it, because, like I said before, it's an episode of Legends and we're crying, but the tones never feel off, because there is some really emotional moments, some heavy gravitas in this episode, and then we get just some crazy humor. I mean, Bebo comes back. There's a giant Bebo roaming the streets of, I'm not even sure which city they were in. Maybe it was Star City or Central, I think Central City maybe, or Star City. I don't even know. I can't remember which city they were in. Not that it really matters too much, but yeah, that was hilarious. And then of course you get the Legends of Tomorrow meta humor, all the references to the fact that they're in a crossover. They're all very aware of it. I just love all the quotes. Like for the most part, Ray Palmer, Brandon Routh, is hysterical in this episode, because he's like, was there a crossover? Did we win? Like, I think he says that. It's either him or Nate that says that. I can't remember, but I think it is Ray that says that. And then he says after he gets, you know, shown the memories of everything that happened, he says there was a me that's a super me, and then he does like the Superman pose, and it's absolutely brilliant. There's also Mick Rory gets to shine in this episode, and we get to see him at a Rebecca Silver book signing in the middle of this. This is part 5 of the crossover, and they have time to show Mick Rory signing books as Rebecca Silver, his you know, alter ego. Like, it's so funny. And then the fact that he refers to himself as being a prolific author, like, it's beyond hysterical. I love it so much. So it never, but it never gets, like, you never lose yourself and like go like, it's never jarring, the clash of the tones. Everything flows perfectly. It's paced wonderfully. It blends together so excellently. Like, I'm so impressed. I really am. So this was a fantastic episode. Unfortunately, the Anti-Monitor is still alive. And shadow demons start coming for the Paragons, which is no good. So then they have to, figure out how to, defeat the Anti-Monitor for good and get rid of the shadow demons. And so they come up with a device that's going to shrink the Anti-Monitor and just like for eternity. So he can just, so you've got Ray Palmer, Ryan Choi, and Nash Wells all working together, coming up with that. And then Barry Allen gets a really funny scene where he gets to he uses his speed to assemble the bomb for them. It's really funny. But yeah, and I really just loved the Bebo stuff because, you're getting Supergirl and the Flash and, all of these heroes that don't usually deal with this kind of thing, and they're there and it works, and it's just so funny. I really, really loved it. J'onn J'onzz gets a new outfit for a second. It's basically, we actually get to see, David Harewood, as him, no CGI, Martian head, with the suit and the cape. It's him in the suit and the cape, and he looks really good, and I hope they do more of that, because I really, really like that quite a bit. In Black Lightning rocks up, and Killer Frost gets to do her thing. Her and Heatwave join forces, and it's so awesome. And then we get to see them all fighting, and Superman's there, and everybody's there, and fighting against the Anti-Monitor, who makes himself huge by the end of the battle. It's such a great fight scene. That last climactic battle is just so wonderful. And it's, again, intense and engaging, and it's just a great time. This entire thing is just a great time. But yeah, they get the shrinking bomb to do its thing. And I forgot to mention as well that there is a really great moment where all of them cry out for Oliver I think it's right before they start the final battle. They say for Oliver, and I was just like, oh, getting all of the feels, literally. But yeah, so they defeat the Anti-Monitor, and he ends up being shrunk for eternity, and they save the multiverse, and things are just now going to stay this way, the way that they are now. And like I said before, I think it's amazing. I love it. It's so good. Also, Sarah Diggle is back. JJ is no more. It is now Sarah. And we got a lovely shot of Dig and Lila and Connor and Sarah just kind of being a family. It was really, really nice. I really liked it. I was not expecting to see Sarah Diggle come back, so that was really wonderful. And then Clark and Lois now have 2 sons, not just one. They have 2. So I suppose we'll get to meet them properly when they get their own TV show. Like Superman and Lois are getting their own show later this year, and I cannot wait, because Tyler Hoechlin as Superman has been one of the best things in the Arrowverse, and I know I say that about everything, but it's true. There's so many great things in this goddamn universe. It's so wonderful. It really is. It's one of the best things on television, hands down. But getting towards the end now, the part 5 of the Crisis crossover basically ends with more glimpses and more references to other shows and other universes, because while everything is merged, not everything, sorry, I should use my words a bit better. While, Black Lightning and Supergirl have merged with Flash and Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow into what is now known as Earth Prime, not Earth 1, Earth Prime, there are still many, multiverses out there. So we get a shot of Earth 2 to start with, which shows us I guess, you know, a kind of a sneak peek at the upcoming Stargirl TV series that's happening, I think, later this year. That was really, really cool. Then we cut to Earth 12, where we see the Green Lantern Corps, and that had me very excited. I don't know what's going on with Green Lantern in terms of just anything. I think they're making a DC EU film, and maybe that's what we were seeing. I'm not really sure. They haven't, I don't think they've confirmed or denied anything, but nevertheless, that was pretty cool. We get to see Earth 19 and Swamp Thing. The Swamp Thing show that unfortunately got cancelled a couple of months ago now, which was very sad because apparently it was good. It was getting good reviews, but I'm not going to get into why that show didn't end up happening. But there's someone's monologuing over this entire montage of the different Earths. I think it might be Oliver or Spolliver, because that's right. Because before they go into this, they actually show, like, they redo the entire how the opening of part 1 had the monitor narrating over the creation of the multiverse. Well, now you've got the rebirth of the multiverse, and Spolliver is narrating over that, and then we get all these different, and he says something sad about, I can't remember exactly the line, but it was just, things that are no longer here, blah blah blah, and they focused on Swamp Thing, and it was just like, oh, that's sad. No, I never got a chance. Then we get Earth 9, which is another glimpse at Titans, which was awesome. They popped up in one of the earlier parts as a little reference. I think maybe that was episode 1, part 1. They were in that big montage at the start, I think, or maybe part 2. Nevertheless, Earth 21 is next, and we get Doom Patrol being funny, and I think I really need to watch that show because it looks, just from that little glimpse of them, like, they're just jumping around and being silly, and I'm just like, okay, that looks like a lot of fun. So I should figure out how I can watch that because I think it would be awesome. Then my favorite thing in part 5, we go back to Earth 96, and we get to see one more glimpse of Brandon Routh as Superman, as Christopher Reeve Superman, and they show us, it's the finale shot, it's at the end of every Chris Reeves Superman film, there was the shot of him above the Earth in space, floating through and flying away off camera, and we got that, they recreated that with Brandon Routh, and I was just, oh my god, and the music was swelling, and I'm like, that's another thing, the music in this crossover has been so good, and I've mentioned it before, but there was a moment in the final fight where, they were focusing on certain heroes and their themes were coming through. Like, I think during the moment where they said for Oliver, you heard a flush of the Arrow score. They focus on the Flash, and you get the Flash score, Supergirl score. Like, I thought that was really, really fantastic. But to see Brandon Routh, God, I need to do a top 10 list of my favorite things of the crossover because seriously, it's just been phenomenal. That was so good. And then, it kind of ends on a bit of an emotional but a very powerful note, I think. We cut back to all of our heroes, and they're on Earth Prime, and they're in the hangar from the Invasion crossover. And they're having a memorial for Oliver. And I cried through the entire thing. It's, oh my god. They've got his suit in a glass cabinet, and then they've got basically an urn, well, not an urn, but just this arrow-shaped thing with maybe, I don't know if it's probably not his ashes in it, or I have no idea, probably not, but, and then it gets lit on fire, and it looks like it's going to be an eternal flame type of memorial that just burns, and all of the characters basically step forward and say something, and I was just crying the whole time. Oh, it's so emotional, we're actually saying goodbye to Arrow. This is it. It's done. It was very well done. Very, very well done. But then we get, some happy things we see the fact that this is basically going to be their Hall of Justice, I suppose. before these crossovers going forward, and there's a table in the middle of the big hangar, and every hero has their own seat with their own emblem on the back of it, and they all sit down and they're all like having a smile and feeling good, and yeah, it's awesome. And I also enjoyed the remarks from from Black Lightning when he was like, how, you know, is this going to be a regular thing? You know, us having to team up to save the world, basically what he says, and then everyone just kind of goes, yeah. And then Batwoman says, I was the newbie last year, which I thought was a very cute little reference. So, yeah, and then they're basically paying reference to the Super Friends here, because we get a little glimpse of a certain cage of a certain monkey by the name of Gleek, which is the Wonder Twins monkey from the Super Friends animated show that came out in the 1970s. Yeah, so that's, I don't know if Gleek's if that's just a cameo thing, or if he's gonna be a recurring thing, or just a crossover thing, who knows, or if we're gonna be getting, you know, more of the other Super Friends, as in like the Wonder Twins, for example, if they're gonna be in the whole thing, who knows. It's just, yeah, it's just so much to love about this entire thing, and I'm just looking at my notes trying to see if I've forgotten anything, but I think that's basically it. That's everything. I've just loved this entire crossover. It's been one of the best things, and it literally lived up to the hype from go. I can't wait to rewatch it again, and like back to back to back to back, so I can just experience it in its full glory, basically like a movie. Like oh god, it's so good. I'm so happy. Like, it was worth the wait. You're absolutely worth the wait. Alright, I don't think I have anything else to really say, or just the fact that I'm gonna really miss Arrow, but, you know, going forward, things are going to be much more just, I don't know. They've definitely got a plan, they've got a direction they're heading in, and I cannot wait to find out exactly where they're gonna take us next. So, who knows what's gonna happen. Oh, okay, alright. I think that's basically it. That's all I've got. I loved this crossover, if I haven't made that clear. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Yeah, that's it. Cool, great, awesome. This is officially the worst sign-off ever. Okay, I've been a Kendall Richardson, and you've just experienced non-scripted ramblings.